Okay guys, the next one we're going to show you is from two different types of trees. This is fatwood from a pitch pine, from a lower knot. Now pitch pine can be found pretty much in nature from any pitch pine tree. That's what the pitch pine tree looks like right there. And the other tree that you could source sort of fatwood from is dead white pines as well. This is a white pine that I sourced this from. This is fatwood from a white pine. So they both produce terpene. The pitch pine does, and so does the white pine. The pitch pine more so than the white pine does. So this is what a white pine looks like. Also too, white pine does have the best sap that you can find on any tree. Now the white pine, you can take a little stick like this and get your white pine sap on there, which white pine produces more sap than pitch pine does. Pitch pine doesn't really produce as much sap. When it comes to sap, you want to use white pine. You stab that stick, you sharpen a stick and stab it into a white pine, or just scrape it off of a white pine around the knots. Now you'll find the fatwood either in the stump, in the lower portion knots, in the stump of pitch pines and white pines. One of the best fire starters to me on the planet is pitch pine, white pine, and the sap from the pitch pine and the white pine. As you can see, there's the sap. And all that takes is just a flick of a lighter or a match to get that going. And basically that's what you call a woodsman's match. And then you can stick it in your fire tinder, smalls, and then your next to bigs on top of the smalls to start a fire. One of the best fire matches there is basically pine tree boogers, is what they call them. And also, if you can collect enough of this stuff, you can put it in a small can and melt it down on your fire and stick charcoal in it from your fire, and rabbit poop to make pitch, to basically be a natural glue that you can use on your wounds. You could use it to fix your knife if you break your knife blade and you can carve out a handle for a knife. You could use that pitch once it cools down. It's some of the hardest natural glue known to man. Native Americans even use the pitch to make green birch bark canoes, and they use the pitch to basically cover up any openings on the birch bark canoes. So that is another good one, and I'm going to show you a technique to light a fire with this here in a minute with a tinder bundle. But fatwood is probably one of the, in between tulip poplar bark and fatwood is my #1 fire starter in nature that you could use. I think tulip poplar and fatwood are the two very best when it comes to fire starting in North America, guys. I'm going to show you how to make the hillbilly pine sap match. Now this is the pine sap I gathered earlier from a white pine. White pine has some of the best sap. Basically that's and here's a piece of white pine fatwood that I found from a stump. And yes, white pine does have fatwood. Maybe not on the lower limbs, but definitely in their stumps they do have fatwood. And here is some regular old pitch pine, which is from the pitch pine tree. White pine has 4 leaves where the pitch pine has 3. I'm going to show you how to make the hillbilly fire match. And in itself, you can't just light pine sap up without like a match or a lighter. So if you're in the field and you want to make a pine match like this, you just shave down a stick like this and put like a somewhat of an edge on it to scrape some pine sap off, and you could use your match. And if you don't want to waste a lot of matches, you could just use one match to light the tip of that, to put it in a tinder bundle like this. This is a grass and tulip poplar, and it's a grass and tulip poplar tinder bundle I made earlier. So you got tulip poplar bark in the center here, and it's got a wraparound of grass. One of the best tinder bundles you guys could ever make for either flint and steel or ferrocerium rods. You could also use dried yucca leaves as well in the center of this tinder bundle. It just helps get the fire going a little bit better when you're making flint and steel fires or ferrocerium rod fires. Now, what you'll need for this, okay, now in itself, you have to have a match to light the sap. You can't light it with a ferrocerium rod. If you did, you would have to like shower it with chunks and lay it on a surface. Ferrocerium rods will not get pine sap lit. So if you're trying to use a ferrocerium rod to light pine sap, it won't work unless you waste a lot of your material. So I'm going to show you a way you can light with your ferrocerium rod to make the hillbilly pine sap match. This is why I call it. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody ever do this, but this is another good technique to make a match so you don't waste your resources on your ferrocerium rod. You will need a piece of lighter pine, pitch pine, fatwood, or a piece of white pine fatwood for this. And what you want to do is make a pile of Maya dust like this. You want a lot of it so you can what this will do, once you make your pile of Maya dust from your pitch pine, is what you do is you roll your pine sap in there like this. Basically kind of makes a torch out of it, kind of doesn't. You can take your hand and just like push some more of it in there, you know. You just want it to grab as much as you can. And once you do this, you can set it down like this. And this is how you could light the pitch pine with a ferrocerium rod. I call this the hillbilly pine sap match. And it's not a drag on your resources neither. There it goes. Whoa! It lit on fire. Holy shoot. Okay, there you guys go. Right there. And now once you got that sap going, you got like yourself a mini torch. And you can stick that in your tinder bundle like this. And if you want to conserve the sap, blow it out and you'll still have that sap on the end of it. And you could reuse that over and over again to get a fire going with the hillbilly hillbilly sap match is what I call that. And you just take a little bit of that fat wood off of there and stick it on there, and you can sit there and light a fire with it multiple times, and there's your fire, guys. That's how you can start a fire with the hillbilly pine match, because pine sap match, guys. And in itself, you cannot light the pine sap itself, but if you add a little bit of fat wood to it, then you can light the pine sap on the end of the hillbilly pine sap match to start a fire, so you can get a campfire going. And then you can just blow it out and just, you know, put it back in some more fat wood. And once that hardens and dries, you can just reuse it over and over and over and over and over again until you run out of sap or you burn the tip of it off. I use a green stick for this. I don't use a dry stick for this. I use a green stick for the hillbilly match. Well, guys, I hope you like this little technique that I've used for a couple years. I call it the hillbilly pine sap match, because pine sap in itself, the green pine sap, can't be lit with a ferrocerium rod, but if you add a little bit of fat wood Maya dust to it, you can light it. And you can blow it out and then reuse it over and over again until you run out of sap. And all you got to do to replenish that stick is go get more sap, and then you got yourself a hillbilly pine match, guys. Hope you like this video. A hillbilly pine sap match, guys. I hope you like this video. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe on this video, and tell me what you think on the video. This has been your old pal Hondo, out.